Hello, hello, hello. It's Annabelle and Sarah here. Welcome back. Sorry we missed last week. Weren't available to do a recording, but we'll try and catch up with 2 weeks worth today. I want to start off with what happened this morning. Facebook has censored news in Australia now. It's really interesting. If we look at, I think we talked about this in the last episode, that Australia tackled China and they wanted to investigate their dealing with the virus. And so then China decided to punish Australia by cancelling a lot of their imports, when then Australia promptly found other buyers, which was kind of cool. But now we've got a problem with tech. The Australian government had done something along the lines of tackling Facebook about the way that they were not paying major news broadcasters for their content. We did talk about that last time, that's right. And so that, Facebook was quite happy to use all their news media, but wasn't paying them anything. Whereas advertising is how news media normally covers its bottom, pays its bills. And so because they did that, Facebook has decided to punish Australia by censoring all the news. So we can't post any memes and we can't see any of our Australian news channels, which is kind of interesting because it basically steers people away. If they want to know the news, all the Australians are going to move away from Facebook and go direct and support their favourite newscasters. But we're not just talking about Murdoch and James Packer and the main media moguls here in Australia. We're talking about everybody else, all the rest of us who are trying to get information out about vaccines or about our constitutional lack thereof, or any other kind of news, that we become newscasters as well, and they're going to be censoring that. So we've been joking this morning about how all you're going to end up with is cat videos and pictures of people's dinner left on Facebook. It's really all that's going to be left on there. So if you want to join us, what channels are you on, Sarah? What other places have you put yourself?
Just on Twitter.
Twitter,
but
okay.
I noticed a few things on my tweets. I accidentally went to like one of my tweets. I was just going through a row and oh, that's mine. I don't usually like my own tweets. When I clicked on it, it had 0 hearts. When I clicked on it, right at first, it went to 29, and then whoop, it flipped to 1.
Oh.
So I went to my page, whatever, and looked at them all and started doing that on all of my tweets. And it happened on pretty much all of them. So today I go to look and there's no heart. No, different numbers, but it was all a high number that dropped down to a 1 or 2 or whatever really quickly.
You're very popular, Sarah. You are.
And I looked at other people's tweets and it isn't happening on theirs. So today when I went to go look to see if it was still going on, the heart option is not available. It's not there on any of my tweets.
Oh, what?
I must be very, very threatening.
Badge of honor. Wow, how about that? And we can't share anything either. Like people that are trying to share stuff on Facebook, there's no share button anymore. So sometimes I copy the link across if I can, but they're just getting harsher and harsher. What's funny is there's still people out there that are going, oh, this is really great. They should be censoring. Like, duh. They don't really think about the fact that it'll apply to them at some stage too.
You'll be next. So my Twitter handle is Sarah __RB.
Okay.
Or Sarah on the New Earth.
Sarah on the
Any
New
of the
Earth. Good
easier
idea
to remember.
Yeah, I'll put that up on the screen. I'm also connected on Telegram, just under my name, Annabelle Drum. And on MeWe is Annabelle Drum as well. Those are the two main ones. I did connect with Gab, but I'm not really keen on that. And Parler is gone now anyway, which never felt right to me.
Didn't it come back though?
I'm not going to go there. I don't know. As soon as Parler came up and I was just looking and there's just things popping up everywhere. Oh, everyone should be on Parler. And I'm like, no, this is not.
I got that intuitive hit about Parler too. It was like, not that one.
Yeah. So I joined it to look and see what they had, but I wasn't posting anything. So, So I'm not really keen on those two, but MeWe looks interesting. That looks kind of a suitable replacement for Facebook presently as we go. Weather. Let's look at the weather. So what on earth is going on in the middle of your country?
It's cold.
It's like
I
normal
don't know.
cold though, right?
Let's look at it, because this is, for one thing, it's just it's like 2/3, if not more, of the country, right in the middle. Everywhere is like dark blue to purple on those maps, and power is out. One of my clients lives in Texas, and has two little kids, and it's freezing cold, and they have no power. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Now, we've been talking a little bit about how you've had such an unusual summer in Australia with all the rain and everything, and maybe it was balancing out for artificially being dried all those years.
Yeah.
Do we think
for us, like the chemtrails disappeared maybe 2 years ago now, and you'd see one every now and then, and that was it. And we'd all talk about it because we noticed this was really weird now. It wasn't so common. But yeah, the beginning of our summer, normally our summer is like 6 months long. We have 2 weeks of spring and 2 weeks of fall or autumn. And a massive big 6-month summer. But this time round, we had a whole spring, 3 months of that. We had 4 or 5 weeks of rain and cloud at the beginning of summer, which is I don't remember ever seeing that. I've been here 20 years in Australia, and now here we are in February. It's still the tail end of summer, but we've got another 10 days of cloud and rain. And look, I've got a long sleeve shirt on. It's not sweaty or anything. So yeah, I wondered if it was Mother Earth balancing. I don't think that this does not feel manipulated. But what's going on in America does feel manipulated to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially knocking out the power. That's just appalling.
Are they punishing Texas?
Yeah.
For being Republican, for voting for Trump?
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah. With the power stations there, I remember there was a tweet, I can't find it at the moment, was saying, the power's been knocked out. Oh, it was somebody from a different country saying, we have even colder temperatures than that, and all our power stations are running perfectly fine. This is total rubbish that your power stations closed down. It's rubbish. It's deliberate.
Wow. Yeah. Amazingly, AOC, Alexandria.
She's still there.
Whatever.
Cortez, the waitress. Yeah.
Yes. She tweeted something along the lines of, what's going on in Texas with the power grid, it proves that we need to have the Green New Deal. And I'm like, no, because that electricity is less constant and less reliable than oil. But they're selling it, trying to sell it. No one's buying. I don't know. God, are people buying that? I don't know.
Yeah, occasionally. I think a few lefties still think she's just marvelous, as if they don't realize that she has all her words fed to her. So crazy.
Just an actress.
You know how we found that tremendous difficulties that have come about have often woken people up. And in this case, I'm thinking that when stuff closes down in the middle of a major snowstorm, that people are going to go, solar panels are not the answer, because you cover them in snow and they don't work. And wind turbines freeze up solid, and so they're not going to work. So we need a different thing. And I think it's kind of, to me, it feels like it's turning consciousness towards the answer of scalar energy, that they don't actually realize what the solution is. They just know it's got to be something else. And it's not petrol, and it's not wind, and it's not solar. So what is it? And I think it's drawing the focus towards the real answer, the free energy.
Yay! I like that one. So let's do some work for Central America. Mm-hmm. So everybody, just take a couple of breaths, get into your body, and ask your spiritual support team to join you. Let's call the angels, the elementals, and the elements. How about that? All of those come in to help this, and everybody together, let's set the intention of creating the most optimum correction for what's going on in the U.S. I'm choosing my words carefully because I was thinking, well, let's ask fire to go in there and add some heat. But then I thought, maybe there's an answer that we don't know of consciously. So let's just choose the optimum choice for easing the situation and helping people and animals and plants and everything in this country.
Bring in
And
what is required for the greatest good.
I like that. Yeah. And so just imagine that we've just created this beautiful big bubble full of whatever is needed for this area, and see it come down over. It's as big as the whole frozen center of the country. Allow it to drop gently in and be absorbed and used by everyone who chooses to have it. You don't have to use this energy if you don't want to, but it's offered. And if we can all just take a minute on a regular basis, just sort of tune in, as quick as that, connect with your support team, connect with the elements and the elementals, connect with your higher self. Imagine that bubble of the optimum, best outcome, best energy needed for that area, and allow it to just, gently, gently. It's funny. It's like I see it like touch the earth, and then like a soap bubble, just go, and everything goes out. Whatever is in there goes out over the country. So every little bit we can do to help. We are very powerful. We must be, otherwise they wouldn't be messing with us on Twitter this way and Facebook this way.
Yeah. And I'm thinking what I was picturing was any manipulative technology, its power dissolves within that space as well. So that Mother Earth can do her thing because she knows what she wants.
I like that. Balance. Let's make sure there's balance in there.
So speaking of, removing manipulative technology, we've had a bit of a personal issue that you've been dealing with, Sarah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, somehow I got a very high dose of radiation, my dog and I both. And we had 3 days of super sick, horrible abdominal pain. The dog threw up and had diarrhea and didn't eat for 3 days. Luckily, the night before, the night that this happened, while we were sleeping, and the image I saw was of somebody looking down through and seeing the heat signatures, in my bedroom, and one of them would be my torso, and the other one would be the dog who sleeps near my legs. So my legs got zapped too, and and what is it? 4 weeks later, the skin's peeling off, the hair's falling out. I mean, it's just classic. And the doctor wants to diagnose. I lost 25 pounds and I was already thin. So, the dog didn't lose weight. Oh, well, just me. But that night I had just processed my first jumbo batch of CBD oil from the plants that I grew. And it tasted so good. I had a jar of it in a spoon and I was just going, and the dog was like, very politely begging, but I would put it onto my hand and then she'd lick it and then I'd have a spoon. And we just did that because it was so good. And that probably protected us because CBD is a treatment for radiation. So I started wondering, is it still here? And got a radiation detector device and started going around my property, and I didn't find anything. But my refrigerator has smart features. I didn't buy it. Came with the house. And I went over to the control panel and it was 1,300 millisieverts, whatever that is.
That is crazy.
That's really high.
Yep.
You said you have a chart. What do they say about it?
I do. I've got a chart here and put it up on the screen. So this is showing you the difference between the radiation exposure. So a dental x-ray, for example, is 0.1. A chest x-ray is 0.1. So it just works its way up. Mammograms 0.4. CT scan of a head is 2. Right? A CT scan of a heart is 16. So it gets higher and higher. Maximum radiation levels recorded at Fukushima plant yesterday. Yeah, I don't know when that was. 400. So this is showing you how powerful things are. Accumulated dosage estimated to cause a fatal cancer many years later of 5% of people is 1,000. And another one, single dosage which could cause radiation sickness, including nausea, lower white blood cell count, but not fatal, is 1,000. These are a single dosage. So if your fridge has been pumping out 1,300 for however long you've been there, what was it, like 4 years or something?
Mm-hmm.
Man, you must be a Trojan horse to not have died of cancer by now. I mean, you're strong as an ox to have coped with such incredible radiation all this time. And I do encourage people to have a look at their fridge, buy a little radiation detector. They're like
cheap, $20, yeah.
24 bucks over here because you've got extra, travel and stuff. But yeah, wow, what a huge discovery.
I found a guy online who also has a Samsung refrigerator, new one, and he got high readings off his too. But he spoke to Samsung and he tried to get an electrician to come because it's smart. And when I disconnect from the wireless and go back to reconnect, one of the options that comes up is Samsung fridge. So
it's on all the time.
Yeah. But he shows, and there's another video. I'm going to get my son to come over this weekend and help me out, move the fridge and everything, that you can open the back and disconnect that from the power so it turns it off. So also the other thing is I have a microwave, which is an old cheap one, but I rarely use it. Mostly my daughter uses when she heats frozen foods occasionally. But luckily I've been keeping it unplugged recently. It was also doing 1,300 when it was not turned on.
Oh, what do you do? Pull the plug from the wall then? Is that the best way? Like, does it stop emitting it then?
Yeah.
I just said I'm turned off, and it's really old. It's not even a Wi-Fi thing or smart or anything. Just pull the plug.
What was really bizarre is that it was higher when it was turned off than when it was running.
Whoa, that's weird.
And I thought, wait a minute, that can't be right. And I tested it one more time. And I thought, I'm not going to stand here and do this over and over again. So I just picked it up and put it away. And when the next time neighbors. I can, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm not going to poison my neighbors. Oh, those neighbors. You guys need an extra microwave?
Yeah. Oh, man. You think about how cancer has grown so much around the world over the last 10, 20 years, and there's a book by Medical Medium which talks a lot about how so many illnesses are connected to radiation and toxins. That's where the illness comes from. It's not because you've tripped over and fell down on the path and grazed your knee. We're talking about serious issues that don't seem to have cures. Big pharma keep producing new drugs over and over again that never cure anything because that's not profitable for them to cure anything. So, you grab one of these radiation detectors, you'd be surprised if you could get rid of them all and see if you start feeling better. Yeah. So it links back to the issue with Texas, or the center of your country, that yes, we can put in wonderful energy. That's great. But the second layer has also got to be to disconnect any of the deliberately harmful technology
Whatever
that's put in place.
Happened to the dog and I looked up on a graph and what the symptoms were and when they happened, how long after the event. And what it said was 95 to 100% of this is fatal. 100% of the people will be fatal. They tried to kill me, the motherfuckers. But they failed again. It won't be the first time. Now all they're doing is stopping me from getting likes. Oh, goodness.
I think you can survive that too. In fact, it makes you wonder, even with this channel, on YouTube, as to it looks so ridiculously low with the subscribers that, Google have been manipulating us for a long time, and likes. Yeah.
You've seen that exactly. Where you posted it, and in 5 minutes there was like 6 views, right?
Yeah.
And then you went back to fix something a half an hour later and it said 1 view.
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right? Yeah.
Yeah. But not,
and
it's a Google thing. It's a general Google thing. Like when I first set up my e-learning course, my stress management course, and I put it on a platform that was it was Kajabi, which is fantastic for membership sites, but it's like $200 a month. So it's like, okay, we've got to really make this work from the minute that I upload it. And they taught how to get you Google advertising and all the rest. I struggled with Google for 6 months trying to follow these ridiculous rules on what was needed. You can't ask for any money. You can't give any free giveaways on your homepage. I'm like, there's all these other websites that do that. It's just a standard thing to do.
Yeah.
Why can't I do that? No, that's the new rules. I said, well, why doesn't it apply to anybody else? They were just being so ridiculous. And I was always funneled back to the same people. There's probably a little team just for, children of the light. Make sure that they can't make any money. So after 6 months and paying $1,200 for this platform and not making one sale, I pulled it down, and there's another failure. And you think, I know, I failed. But if there's somebody deliberately out there trying to bugger things up for you, then that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah.
I can laugh now. I didn't laugh at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. $1,200 is a lot of dough.
It is when you're sitting there waiting to earn some money and you're self-employed. Let's have a look at a few other things. Judge Sullivan, he's the one that was determined to make sure that General Flynn was never let off his court case. He has suddenly resigned. Again, more politicians disappearing or dying of COVID and all these sorts of curious things. I don't have a list as I did last time. That was quite interesting to see that list. Super Bowl. So look, do you remember the last few that we've seen of Super Bowl halftime show is always this great display of satanic symbols and things like that. And this time it was Weeknd. Now, Weeknd was the guy who had an album cover with his chin up and blood all down his face, fresh blood. Yeah. And, the videos are all about him getting punched in the nose and stuff. But no, I mean, I was looking at this going, that's real blood and that's not your blood. That's horrifying. And people will go, oh, no, it's fake. But no, it's not intuitively. I'm going, no, that doesn't feel right at all. And so I thought he's going to be the act for the halftime show. That'll be interesting. So I go and watch it. And yes, it's not as bad as Lady Gaga's one. That was really blatant. This one is people fully masked and lined up like little clones, little robots with no personality, which was interesting. Fine. That's what you expect that they would produce. However, Weeknd, the man himself, when you look at his videos of live concerts a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, he just bounces up and down. He's just like an ordinary old rapper. He walks up and down the stage and he raps and he goes somewhere else and he points at the crowd, blah, blah, blah. Very ordinary, not a dancer. And yet, if you look at this Super Bowl halftime show and the one he did for MTV Awards not too long ago, he's got lots of Michael Jackson moves. And they're very refined and they're very sharp. And they're not at all what a non-dancer could do in that time.
Interesting.
I believe. Very interesting. Because, there's all the rumors about whether Michael Jackson's actually dead. He just conveniently disappeared, just like Prince did.
Mm-hmm.
We're all kind of hoping that it's just fake and they were removing them out of the way so they wouldn't get harmed. But yeah, it's interesting. We'll just leave it at that. The movie Absolute Proof came out. Did you see that as well?
Okay, yeah, right. But it was totally censored, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, but you can still find it on Rumble and places like that. We'll put the link into Rumble. I don't know if you'll see it, but if you can't find it, just go and look for this guy's name and this video name that I'm putting on the screen right now. I'll flash it on. If you go and look at that, you'll see there is
no flashing.
No, oh well, we can flash that. Should we call it undeniable proof because it's live streaming. You can see from all these different countries the influence coming into America. It is amazing technology.
Wow.
They can watch every IP address. They know exactly where the computers are that were manipulating the results. Just amazing. And then there was a woman who is part of the intelligence community. There's a former FBI director and one other in there that they're legitimate people. They're not actors. They're not, they're not sort of Dr. Fauci kind of placeholders. They're real people and they're showing real evidence, and it's fantastic. It's a really good video. So have a look for that one.
Yeah. What's interesting is Mr. Pillow, as you call him, the My Pillow guy, had a meeting with President Trump a while back, and he brought all this information. And so Trump knows this.
How did he get hold of the information?
He said he spent a lot of money and hired a bunch of investigators, like a lot of money, maybe in the millions even.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly, but it was like, good thing you're rich if you're going to do that, man.
So it's his information that he's putting out on the video.
Yeah, and he just got a lot of forensic people to go in and find it for him. And he went and met with the president with it. And the various lawyers and stuff tried to block him. Like they said, go down and copy this. And he went down and no, you can't come in. And, you know, you can't see the president again when you go back. So that's going on. But he did meet with the president. And the president knows all this information. So that means he deliberately didn't go forward with anything about it because he wanted the Biden presidency to happen.
Yeah.
And so we could see what's going to happen next. I mean,
you're going to get a taste of him, don't you, of a bad president before you bring it out. Otherwise, it just looks like a sore loser, right?
Yeah, right. And even mainstream media is starting to go, he did what? Why didn't he call Netanyahu, you know, our biggest ally? And he still hasn't called him. And then, you know, how was the phone call? It was a good call. It was Biden's only comment. You know, we discussed this and we're doing that. And evidently Kamala is doing a lot of the phone calls for him, called France and Germany. I can't think of their names, but, you know, and I was like, although Biden does do a good, you know, walk around with coffee and the dogs. Here, you can have this coffee. I didn't drink it.
Oh, he's the tea lady now. And the picture of him supposedly on Air Force One was really just an ordinary plane. It's not even Air Force One. And then they were trying to put pictures in the media of him traveling when it's actually photos of him landing on Air Force One when he was the vice president. Oh dear.
Wow.
So that shows, So there'll be parts of the media that are going, hang on a minute, that's not what what our sources told us. But there were others who are quite blatantly making it up as they go along. They're going to be really showing up, aren't they?
Yeah. And then the press secretary is just perfect for making people go, what the bleep are these people doing? Because she's, you know, the circle back girl. Yeah. I'll circle back on you. And boy, it's starting to show her anger and her resentment toward people. As I mentioned just before you asked this question a second time, you know, and then doesn't answer it. And she's just, you know, her arms, her fingers are going to on the podium, and she's being an empath. I just was like, oh, there's a lot of rage in there. She hates the people she's talking to, and basically feels like she hates everybody. And I think Biden isn't really doing anything because she doesn't ever have any information about what he's doing.
Right. Yeah, she doesn't know what's going on. And what is he doing? We don't really know. So with the military presence that's still around Washington, that's still incredible. These huge high fences with razor wire and all the soldiers that are there. That's really not made clear.
Recently, they said they want to keep the National Guard through the fall.
For you, not for me. So another 6 months.
Yeah. I'm like, it was going to be March. Now it's going out again, and it's like half a billion a month.
Oh, so
to have this smaller amount there.
If we're looking at this as a chess game, this is like chasing the king around and around the squares, isn't it? Like you can't keep delaying what's about to come. It's going to happen.
Yeah. So when I originally looked at intuitively and astrology and so forth of 2021, I saw the third week at the end of the third week, 22nd, 23rd, something like that of March, as being, it felt like important. A relief and good news, good stuff. And I'm not getting that strong of a feeling for that now. I'm seeing that as a possibility, but then there's another thing in July.
Oh God!
So we may have to wait longer. I hope not. But when I asked, the idea was the answer I got back was trying to keep people safe. Like there was some way the deep state said we're going to, you've got those containers like they bring in on ships and stuff and trains, and they look like a container from the outside, but then they open up and they shoot,
missiles and
torpedoes and missiles and stuff. Yeah. So those are probably all over the place. And like, if you do this, we're going to start blowing things up. So they need a little more time to get rid of those. That kind of thing is how it felt. It was trying to keep people safe. And the other part of it was people really need to see more about COVID. They're not getting it yet. And if you go into the summer, which is not the flu season, you're supposed to be getting well, and they're still trying to pump up the numbers and everything. Well, they've been so brainwashed. I mean, I listened to the regular radio, and they were talking about that Rush Limbaugh died.
Who is he?
I don't really know. I remember from my previous days thinking he was the most awful thing in the world because I was a good little liberal Democrat. But I haven't seen much, but they say he's a racist and a misogynist and all of this stuff. And I know he started with they were talking about on the radio. He had a radio show in the late 80s, starting way back, just before, internet and all of that. And what was interesting to me is that the hosts, and they're all real liberal, were saying back then, the conservatives didn't have anything like that. They didn't have a platform. They didn't have a place to talk about this stuff and to be with like-minded people. And they were saying it like without noticing, oh, you're saying that the media has always been biased, right? They were just saying, oh, he was something really new. They finally found a place where they could be with people like themselves.
Yeah. Well, the media changed after Reagan signed the thing allowing partisan news. So it must have been before that. Because I did see one thing about him on his radio show laughing about gay people dying of AIDS.
That's really brash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he calls people's names, Hollywood stars and various people. He calls them sluts and whores. And, he's not
a peace-loving person.
No, but, he's not with us anymore.
Bye-bye. Fair enough.
Yeah, there we go.
So the only other thing for me, I haven't, you can tell we haven't looked at a huge amount of news lately, but what I've been doing is working on the Book of Essenes. So the Essenes are an interesting mob that, according to the translator of the Book of Essenes that I've been reading, there are records of them. That doesn't mean they didn't exist on either side of these date times, but their records seem to be from around 2000 BC up to around 100 or 200 AD, shortly after the death of Jesus. And Mother Mary was one of them, and so was Jesus, apparently, according to these. And they based their beliefs on Enoch. So I was looking at doing the Book of Enoch for Insight Timer app, the meditation app. But as I got about halfway through, I realized it's so focused on a really horrible judgment day. You know how they're talking in the Bible, there's the great judgment day. Watch out, everyone will be judged in the end. But this version from Enoch is so dark and awful and scary that I thought this is not going to make good bedtime reading. Everyone's going to sit there going, oh, am I going to end up burning in the fiery pits? No. So I thought, no, I don't. And it's also full of metaphor, like the Book of Revelations. And I thought, you don't want to be sitting there thinking, oh, what might that mean? Because that's not a good way to go to sleep either. So I didn't end up finishing the recording. But the Essenes version, which is much, much later. I mean, Enoch was, he can count the generations from Noah and Moses or somewhere way back there, way back. So the Essenes are much more modern compared to that. And they appear to be really beautiful, advanced spiritual people. They were taken as a select group supposedly the highest integrity, most spiritually advanced Jews. So that's their background. They followed the writings of Enoch, and they started creating like permaculture type gardens that were not a lot of work. They could create these amazing little pieces of paradise on the edge of the deserts and by lakes. They would plant grass for the cattle. They were vegetarian, very specifically vegetarian. That includes Jesus. You don't hear anybody saying
what do you mean by very specifically?
That they say in their books that you eat plants, right? You eat plants. They do often talk about sacrifice, so I'm not sure. I'm going to leave my mind open there. I'm not going to defend them because I don't know whether they mean sacrificing animals like Enoch would have done way back in the olden days, or if you sacrifice something else, like you find with Buddhists and things, that they'll give some of their grain or their best apple out of off the tree, or I'm being very simplistic here and but you might sacrifice in other ways other than animals. Certainly not with humans like the Canaanites.
Did.
Yeah, not like that. So yeah, beautiful people making permaculture gardens. I'm assuming that the grass for the cattle was for their manure, which was fantastic for the gardens. I remember watching that lovely modern movie, The Biggest Little Farm, which is of two people in California. You seen that? Taking over the fruit orchards that was just destroyed earth, and they made it work again, and they used manure to get the earth high nutrient again so it could make magnificent fruit and vegetables and things. So yeah, that's the kind of people that they were. The fact that they disappeared so shortly after the end of Jesus is interesting. Whether they went into hiding or whether they were knocked off because they had no weapons. Very easy for the Roman Empire to run them over, or anybody else who decided that whatever words they were saying was no longer appropriate. I don't know. But I've been reading the third book of Essenes. There are 4 of them altogether. The third one's what I started with because it's so beautiful. And in your energy work earlier in this video, you were talking about the elementals. And in this as well, they talk about, I'm just going to pull up the sheet here. I'll give you a list of the things here. They have the angel of sun, the angel of water, air, earth, the angel of life, angel of joy, angel of power, of love, of wisdom, of eternal life. So they have like different pieces of text for each of these different angels. That's why this book is so beautiful and so perfect for bedtime, going to sleep. It gives lovely pictures to think about how beautiful this world could be again, the way it used to be, and what they were creating then.
Have you put them up on Insight Timer yet?
No, I'm just trying to find some theme music. If I can't find any, I'll just put it up without the music. But it's kind of nice to put the series together with just a little snippet at the beginning, just like I did with Emerald's Tablets of Thoth. I put a theme music up there as well, but it's really lovely. And at the end there is a lament. Like you have to include the fact that there are times when you grieve and you're feeling like crap. And so I've included the lament, but there's also prophecy, and the prophecy is based around Enoch again, not quite as horrifying as what Enoch wrote, but similar situation. Now, I've talked to Jeffrey Carl, who's up in the Woodstock, in the Catskill Mountains of New York, and he is very adamant that we have bypassed that terrible timeline. Whether he's right or not, we don't know, but it certainly feels like we're on a happier timeline, that we're not going to need what they saw thousands and thousands of years ago to be such dramatic ends to one earth and the beginning of the new earth, where there'll be shaking, all the buildings will fall down, and hail and floods and fire and blah, 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 blah. And then there'd be like basically nothing left, and then all that's left are the chosen ones, as they talk about.
So the only place that stuff is happening is in Texas then.
Yeah, they got their own little Judgment Day thing going on, their own reality. poor buggers. My goodness.
Poor Texas.
But, yeah. But and then from that, out of the rubble, we build the new earth. But it may not be quite so dramatic, because that's in Enoch's book, they talk about that being the moment where he separates the great Lord comes down, terrifying Lord, sits on the throne and separates the sheep from the goats. So it's instantly the first thing I saw when I heard that was that the sheep are not like we laugh about sheeple watching media news, but the ones who follow the light and want to be good and high integrity people and all the rest, and the goats are the Satanists.
Got it. So I just have to tell you, at one point, it was earlier, like winter, cold, but I had a bunch of fruit trees, and there's a lot of pruning to be done. And the Seventh-day Adventists kept coming around, and I thought, I didn't have kids yet, so I had time. And I said, okay, so you can give me the book, give me your stuff, I'll read it, and I'll talk to you later. So my intention was to go through and prove reincarnation based on what it said. And I said, so I found all these various places where it says, I can't remember, it was a long time ago. God, 30 years ago. But does this mean your soul? And I said, okay, so that does? All right. Well, then this says that this part was also, John the Baptist or whatever. And they didn't like that. I said, no, you're misinterpreting it. It isn't there. I'm like, okay. And I said, so what about this part where you're going to separate the sheep and the goats? So just tell me, should I be going bah or nah? They didn't come back. Bah.
I love the people who come to the door. They're always the most fun, aren't they? Especially if you have got time to talk to them. I remember I think it was Mormons came one time, and I just pretended I was a staunch Catholic because apparently they didn't like them that much. And then but then quite aside from the religious thing, they said, "Oh, so you're here by yourself?" And I said, "I work from home." And they said, "Oh, are you a prostitute?" And I said, "Why do you think I'm a prostitute?" "Well, that's what women do when they work from home, isn't it?"
Oh my God. What are they teaching these silly babies? Oh my God.
And then another group.
That's not what you were doing, right?
You have to ask, Sarah. Come on. And then there was two ladies that came to the door here one time as well. And they said, "We have to tell you, we have great news." I'm like, "Oh, okay, tell me." "God is a woman." And I'm like, "Really? Well, tell me more." And that was a funny conversation as well. They went away a bit like, "Oh, maybe, and if you join us, you'll be the chosen ones." And I said, "Really? But, so how are they going to wipe out the earth?" "Oh, hail and floods and all the rest." I said, "So you're saying that if you guys and me are on the same street, that it's going to wipe me out, but not you?" Oh.
No, you can't bring logic into it.
So it was some of these people, they actually don't like people like you and me question what they're saying, or sometimes we're just genuinely curious, like what does this mean? And then they freak out because they never actually stop to think about it. They just repeat what they're taught. And they don't fully understand it. And I've seen that even with lecturers and leaders, that they're talking away about, I remember there was one who had I don't know what his spiritual beliefs were. I actually only went to see the crystal glass lady playing in the interval, but he was off talking about the seven levels of, the great fall and the great rise again of 7 levels, I think it was, or something about the etheric and astral planes. And every time I questioned, what does this mean? I wasn't being a smart ass. I was just like, well, what does this, how does that work? And you could tell that through his answers. "Hello, Mary.
It's time for dinner." "Mama, it's time for din. I've been very patient and quiet. Now I want to have my food."
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're about done. Just giving me a couple more minutes.
We are done. Yeah, but every time I asked this guy a question, he just didn't have any answer. He obviously hadn't really thought about what he was saying. He didn't understand what he was lecturing. And I could tell there was a few other people in the audience that were like going, "Come on, we do want to know. It's not like we're trying to challenge you or anything. We actually want to understand this, but you don't understand it." Yeah. Okay. Somebody is photobombing you, Sarah. I think it's time to go.
You're a crazy pooch. But you're my crazy pooch.
Lovely.
Okay. Well, great.
Put your comments below if you can actually see this. We'd be delighted if you could actually see it. We might start putting on, why don't we put it on Rumble or BitChute or somewhere as well? What do you reckon?
Let's do Rumble. I have such a hard time with BitChute.
Yeah. All right. Well, see if we can get this series up on Rumble, and then maybe we'll actually see other people that really want to follow it. Have a good week.
Bye.